Fill her up.
You're listening to the Gas Digital Network.
Yeah, I know. Because I can't get right. This is cutthroat. This burns as words hot from a snub nose. This Kurt Metzger and not give a fuck mode. Because I can't get right. Because I can't get right. Yeah, you're listening to Can't Get Right.
This is Can't Get Right with me, Kurt Metzger, and I'm in Dallas right now on the road. So sorry about the last week's show. I was at Skankfest, which got way out of hand for me, so I wasn't able to do another podcast. But I got a great guest to make it up for not making the other one last week, which is body language expert Scott Rouse.
Hey, man.
Thanks, Scott. Scott, what's the name of your show again? I keep forgetting.
It's called The Behavior Panel.
The Behavior Panel. And you also are doing like stuff for Dr. Phil or something, right?
Yeah. We've been doing shows for Dr. Phil. I've been working with him a lot, actually. So it's this time my partner Greg and I went on and did 2-3 shows, and I've done 4 or 5 for him. They're all in the can. I think the next one's Monday.
What does he have you doing? Is it like people's personal things, or is it like just the kind of videos we were watching when you were on?
It's kind of like that. We did this girl, Summer Wells. She's 6 years old and she's missing from Kingsport, Tennessee. And it's a pretty big deal. So the parents are in their involvement is in question. So he had us talk to them. So Greg and I, it wasn't an interrogation. It was more of an interview that we did. And then we went and talked to Dr. Phil about it. We had a whole show. That's all we did. And then he had them come on in today's episode.
Was that the one you showed me way back when you came on with the 2 parents? And I couldn't tell if they were like on Oxycontin or like it didn't look like. Oh yeah, okay.
That's them. Yeah.
And how did they come off on Dr. Phil? Did they seem believable or?
Well, we're under the impression that the father is he has anything to do with it, but we had a lot of red flags with the mother. So that's the only, her behavior became in question. There's a there's a thing called good cop, bad cop. I'm sure you've heard it. Mm-hmm. And so where there were 2 of us talking to both the father and the mother. And one is kind of gets a little mean, the other's really nice, and I was playing the nice guy. And the other one gets really, and then the nice guy after a while gets really mean, and then they'll run over and try to be saved by the meaner guy, and then the meaner guy gets even meaner at that point, and then they run back to me to help, in other words, to sort of look for some help. And then that's when I really kind of stick it to them. But we did this in a very subtle, we did the good cop, bad cop, but in a very subtle way, where we asked about, we whittle it down to organized crime, because we're going for sex trafficking or, child trafficking, to find out that's what's going on. And we asked the mother about if she knew anything about organized crime. And then my part was to say, what about the cornbread mafia? And say it really calm. And the cornbread mafia is like an organized crime syndicate, a gang syndicate in the South, from Tennessee through Georgia and Kentucky. And so that was what we asked her about. When we asked her about that, she got all upset. When she got all upset, she left. There's some things they didn't put in the show where
wow.
We were a little meaner, the way you'd think we were mean. But she got upset about that and left. And then he talked to her, Dr. Phil talked to her and went down the same road and asked her the same thing. And she got a little upset at that point too. So
the cornbread mafia, well, I heard of the Dixie Mafia. Is that just a catch-all term for any mafia?
Yeah, it's the same kind of thing. Yeah. It's just gangs, but it's gangs of good old boys,
Yeah, right. I don't think people know about him that much. And like, I never heard that before, the cornbread. I've heard of like I like finding out about rare gangs. Like, I used to date this girl that she sold acid, and she was like friends with an acid family. That's where she got it from. And they were called the Lavender family. And I don't know if it's like, I think it's like the Rainbow family. I think that's what it's connected to. So they all have like their color and stuff. And they're like hippies, and like acid, and they'll kill you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's always these hippie festivals out in the woods, like all over the place. A lot of times, like Tennessee has a lot of shit like that. And but they they're like people left over from the 60s who got kind of hardened, I guess, from being in the drug business. That's the impression I got about it. But I was like, oh, the Lavender family. It really is amazing how mafias just form everywhere. But the cornbread mafia, why would you even think to ask this mom about the cornbread mafia? Is that a common thing?
It's common. Yeah. I mean, it's the impression most people have is it's going away and it's not that big a deal, but it's alive and well. And there's, it's thought that I've got to watch what I say, but it's thought by a lot of people that they are involved in child trafficking as well as drug trafficking, so, and weapons. So that's why we went down that road, because that's all.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm just curious if it was like there was some kind of like tip off other than, because the child trafficking thing is so crazy because there's such there's like so much of it if you watch anybody that deals with this stuff, and then simultaneously you're kind of like a paranoid loon if you think that, I don't mean I think that, but like, oh, there's pedophiles everywhere, and there is paranoia about pedophiles everywhere, but also this shit's real. So I don't know what.
It's real. It's very real. And the thing is, people don't realize how close they are to it, because it's huge, man. It's huge, and it's everywhere. And people don't realize how close they're seeing these people in filling up with gas. There'll be a car pull up, for example, and you'll see 2 or 3 girls stay in the car. And one guy will stay in the car and want to get up, and he'll get the gas or go in and get stuff, but everybody else stays in the car. They don't even get out to stretch or anything, and there's no laughing, no goofing around. They're just sitting fairly still. There are a lot of things you can look for that will tell you that's what you're looking at. But that's one of the main places that the average person will run into them, is at gas stations or mini marts, those types of things.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So especially with girls between 12 and 20, 21, 22, right in there. So you really have to be observant. Most people aren't observant. They'll go in, they'll get whatever they want, and they just look down, and they'll get lottery tickets or and Reese cups or whatever they're gonna get, and they get back in the car and they fill up and get back in the car and leave, when there's all this other stuff going on around you. So if you pay attention and know what to look for, then it changes the game. You might be able to help somebody at that point.
Yeah, right.
There's that thing that you'll see now where girls will be talking to you somewhere, and you'll see them put their thumb in here and then close the hand. And that's the sign for I need help, whether the person's being violent with them or they're being trafficked or whatever the situation is.
I've never heard that.
They won't do it like that, but you'll see they'll do it very subtly. It may be upside down, maybe while you're talking to them, their hands will be down. You'll see it.
Wait, you've seen somebody do that? Like you've had somebody make this hand signal to you, or you? I've never even heard of that.
Oh, you've got to. Yeah, the more people you tell about that, the better, because that way, people who may accidentally be trafficked will see that, or if they've got somebody violent at home, they can use that. There was a girl on TikTok who was talking to her friend, and she did that, and it's on TikTok. I don't know what to tell you to search to find it, but I guess search help sign. But that's it. You'll see that. Little children will do it. Girls will do it. Somebody who needs help and they can't say anything because the person is there too. That's when you'll see it. So as soon as you see that, call the cops. Don't say, oh, okay, I get it. Don't say anything to them. Just say, okay, great. Well, I'll see you later, and wait outside or something to make sure you call the cops. Don't let that person leave with that person.
Oh, wow. I never heard of that. All right. So you're like, it's that. That's that.
Yeah. That's very important. And the more people you can tell about that, and people watching this, the better off people that you love will be, and you may be able to help somebody if you were to see that sign.
Oh, that's interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, wow, that's wild, that case. I remember watching that video and being like, I didn't think you were going to tell me about the cornbread mafia was involved in it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying it's a possibility.
So I like having these videos that we showed that, because you broke down a good one with one of those shitcoin scams that this guy made an apology.
Yeah.
And, so a buddy of mine, Jimmy Dore, has I just watched his channel. I don't know if you heard the news about the governor of California. I live in LA. So Gavin Newsom, I guess, like disappeared for 10 days. Like he got his booster and he was out of sight for 10 days straight. And everybody's like, oh, where is he? I don't know what if it has anything to do with a booster or anything. I'm not saying that, but it is like probably bad optics, I would say. If you're trying to make people not nervous, because people are going to be watching that. And then he he came back out after 10 days, and his reason for being gone was he was supposed to go to some climate summit or something. And but he says it's because his kids were like, hey, you can't go, like, you're gonna miss Halloween. And yeah, that's his excuse. I think every parent knows that's like, to not be able to miss Halloween. I've never even heard of, I mean, what a bizarre, I was gonna make a joke about it, like, oh yeah, he had to make sure the kids had a great Halloween, I guess. And then that is what he said. That is what they said. You're gonna miss Halloween. Anyway, he did a press conference or something, that Jimmy showed on his show that I sent to Mike here to show, because this is, I don't think it would take a body language expert to be like, something's off here, but maybe I'm just wrong and putting my own prejudice against him because he looks like American Psycho. So wait, will you play that, Bobby? I mean, not Bob, Jesus, Mike. Sorry.
You since October 7th.
Okay, and you could fast forward it a little bit, Mikey.
Disproportionate amount of time with the challenge of having a spouse, battling recalls, crisis to crisis. It was spending time with her and the kids, and we put out a statement accordingly.
Do you think that this has changed the way you think about the way that information gets out in this social media age? And sometimes when there's a lack of information, what happens? Has it changed the way you think about communicating at all?
I don't know. I was sort of bewildered. I drove into the office every single day, into the Capitol, walked the halls of the Capitol with my kids, spending time with my team quite literally every single day in my office. And I didn't see a lot of other folks. And then I started seeing some things bubble up on social media. Where's the governor? I'm like, wait a second. I'm at work. I'm doing work. I'm doing budgets. I'm doing work on port. We put out a number of statements about the work we were doing last week. So I don't know. I think what we're experiencing is remarkable mis- and disinformation campaigns that are going on across the spectrum in this country. I think this notion of vaccination misinformation is pretty well defined and documented, and it's alive and well in this case. It's just rather...
Let's stop right there for a second. He's doing what's called chaff and redirect, where he's not answering the question. He's going on to something else. Chaff is where you see those big planes going by, and they start dropping all that stuff out the back, so the missiles will go to those instead of hit the plane. Right. And then when that happens and they redirect, they go somewhere. So we're seeing chaff and redirect here. Greg Hartley's the one that coined that phrase. And that's what's happening here. He's not answering the question. His chin is up a little bit. He's a little bit cocky here. And he's I don't know anything about the California leadership over there and the governor and all that, but my guess would be this is a pretty bad leader at this point. Not much leadership, because it seems all about him. It's all internal, what he's talking about. He's really not... His whole thing is about him. The chin is up. That indicates that he's being a little narcissistic at this point.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this guy is notorious. He used to be the mayor of San Francisco. I think he had I think he's the one that had the great innovation to just shovel all the homeless into this one section that became some living hell nightmare. Like, he's awful, and then he's like a handsome dude, so that's how he gets elected. But with this one thing, does he seem... when he's like, I'm in the office with my working, I didn't even realize. Yeah,
this is pretty serious. So his approach to this, it may be just shitty leadership, but he should be serious and saying, here's what's going on. People want to know, and they're afraid. They don't know what this thing is. I mean, everybody has their own opinion of what COVID is. Nobody knows what the hell this thing is. And he's laughing about it. Oh, I was working. Nobody was there. And so, in other words, nobody saw me. Nobody could have seen me because nobody was there. But people are asking where I am, but I'm there. Ha, ha, ha. That's just another way of adding qualifiers to what he just said. He said he was there, and then he starts all this other stuff up, and he starts qualifying the things that make it look and sound more believable that he was there for that.
Yeah, right.
No need to do that.
He's going to get into saying that somehow it's like Trump or something. But all right, press play, Mike.
It's just rather extraordinary. And so I think it's a good question. I think it's a question for all of us. A question in your industry. It's a question in mine and in whatever professional endeavor. How we push back against lies, misinformation, intentional and otherwise. And it's hard. It's a fire hose. And if you want to go down that rabbit hole of conspiracies, it's a challenge. And that's nothing to do with with the governor's office. It's much more profound than that all across.
Okay,
the
stop right
country.
there. He's already putting the blame and the reasoning somewhere else that has nothing to do with him. It's not the governor's office. It's about everybody else, what everybody else thinks. This is totally. I wouldn't believe this guy for a second so far.
Yeah, well, you know what's hard, Scott, is I'm like, he's already an oily dude, like, so I'm like, it's hard to tell what's just his basic, I guess, his baseline scumbag and what's but it just seems like a fishy thing to me if you were aware that this misinformation is going around about you. Especially when the vaccine's so important, you just said, you would probably just videotape, hey, I'm here, it's okay, you don't have to be crazy, But like, I mean, somebody who works for him should be fired for that. Just for like, All right,
bad leadership.
It's much more profound than that, all across this country, and obviously, we're seeing misinformation weaponized, notably from former President of the United States, the perpetuation of the big lie, and how.
Hang on, right there,
jaw-dropping.
right there. You're right. You nailed that. Yeah, see how he's grabbing the podium or the lectern, and he's holding on right there because he's got to have a little confidence to be saying all this. He may believe it, and whether it's true or not, who knows. But even that look on his face right there, that's a painful. That looks like pain. I mean, if you were to start looking at micro expressions and stop things, that's a look of pain. He's got his eyes, his glabella. That's what this little area here is called. And that's been drawn in, and he's got his mouth back like that, so it looks like pain that he's saying. He doesn't. Really, it hurts him to say this because when you lie, your brain has to do three things. It has to, number one, it has to keep you from lying. Once it says, okay, I'm going to give an answer, it says, wait a minute, man, don't tell the truth. You got to tell a lie. So then it has to make the lie up. Then once it makes the lie up, it has to deliver the lie. And you see most of the action in the delivery of the lie. And that's what we're seeing here. And his face is doing what's called leaking, and leaking the pain of lying. He knows this is. I would be under the impression he thinks this isn't true, or doesn't believe what he's saying, because he's shifting the blame again somewhere else, to somebody else. So that's, I don't know. There's a lot going. I can see why you want to watch. This is goofy.
Yeah, when I watched it, that's what I thought. I was like, this is the goofiest thing. I was watching Jimmy make fun of it, and I just like couldn't believe it. I'm like Hunter Biden has more convincing laptop stories than this guy.
But I mean, look at it. That's a look of pain. His forehead. It's not quite the grief muscle we're looking at there. The grief muscle makes like an upside down horseshoe on your head, but he looks like he's in pain at this point. So,
all right, let's see.
A big number of Republicans believe it, and this notion of voter fraud, the very direct assault on the.
Right there, he's just changed everything. Hang on just a second. His whole body language changed. It went from being open and using what are called illustrators, and these illustrators are the way your brain emphasizes specific words and phrases, like I did just then, specific words and phrases. And a few minutes ago, he was all fluid and doing that when he was goofing off. Now he's talking about the things he knows that the people on his side are going to stand up with him for. So he's doing this. Everything has changed. He's closing off and everything. So he may not believe this, what he's saying. He may not be confident about it, but he's saying it because he knows he has to. That would be my thought on it.
You know what I'm curious about is the people that would appeal to, like, because all these people do the same thing. Like they talk about Trump like he's their old boyfriend, and they all, there's like a thing where you're like, like I said, I'm not an expert, and I'm like, this guy looks like he's lying, but there's this thing where I'm supposed to go, oh yeah, the January 6th and Trump, and so he has to lie. It's the good, like it's almost like you need a whole bunch of people participating in this lie with him. That's what that misdirection is for, right? Is to be like, well, don't ask Gavin any more questions. He's fighting the good fight out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess maybe that's just politics and
yeah. Most of that's bullshit anyway. It's all that. But he doesn't look like he has a problem doing any of that. That's the thing. It looks very smooth as he's doing it, but he's still leaking everywhere. Everything changed. Everything went down. His hands are in front of his groin and doing, protecting the groin area. That's the fig leaf. So he's not really sure
to cover your dick with your hands when you're lying.
There you go. So he's not confident about what he's saying, but I believe he knows he has to say that, or it will help him to say that, but he may not believe it himself. That's what it looks like.
And he could have, by the way, like, it doesn't have to be some, he got a booster. supposedly you can, I just felt tired when I got my shot, but you can get mild like flu symptoms or something from it, you know, like he might just felt under the weather. It just seems so unnecessary.
Did you
to
get
do
the
that.
booster already?
No, I'm not doing that. I mean, I'll do it when like there's more out about it. I just watched have you seen they did a big press conference about it with what's the redhead's name? Psaki.
Yeah.
And she was like, so the White House pushed that out about boosters. That's supposed to be for old people. They didn't approve that. And then that's why those two people from the FDA, from the vaccine department, the heads of that were resigned because they're like, that's not ethical. So,
okay, I got you.
You know, like, I don't want to get COVID, but also like this is what bothers me about it. Okay. Because I'm not anti-vax or anything. I got this shot. I'm like, I don't want to wear a goddamn mask. So you don't have to wear a mask. Well, no, you have to wear a mask. Okay, great. But I won't get it. Well, you'll get it. Okay, but I probably can't spread it to my No, you can still spread it. Oh. And then, you know, like it's like this bait and switch shit that really bothers me. And I don't think the vaccine, some people it's going to affect poorly. I don't think I'm one of them. Like I tend to not be, you know, I took a chance. I'm like, my chance with the vaccine was better than my chance with COVID, I felt, because I smoked a long time. But like, I don't understand how people, when you sign I had to sign a thing releasing Pfizer from liability. You know, when you get the shot, you sign a thing that you're not, you can't sue them. So right there, that should make people not like, well, nothing can happen. Well, why did I sign a thing like that? That just very basically, why did I sign and then it also disturbs me. The guys, let's take a quick break to talk about one of my favorite sponsors, rockauto.com. Anybody out there have a car they like to work on, or you need car parts, or maybe you're a mechanic? Well, I want to tell you about rockauto.com, the online store with every auto part at the best prices. It's your one-stop shop for everything auto parts. Rockauto.com has been in business for 20 years. They make it easy to find the parts you need at the best possible prices. There's no more the hassle of going somewhere and talking to some counter guy and they got to order something like you're in the Old West from a Sears catalog. At rockauto.com, you can easily find everything you need, whether you're a mechanic or an auto shop or you're just working on your own car. Everyone has access to the same incredible pricing at rockauto.com. So if you're a car person, go right now to rockauto.com and check out all the parts available for your car. Once more, go to rockauto.com. There's no promo code. Their pricing is already that good. And when you order, please tell rockauto.com that you heard about them on Can't Get Right with me, Kurt Metzger. Let them know I'm out there spreading the word about rockauto.com. rockauto.com. All right, let's get back to the show. You know, this was Trump's Operation Warp Speed, from what I understand. Trump was the guy that put this in motion. And at the time, every one of these people that says you're an asshole if you're nervous about it was like, I'm not taking that. Trump, it's the same goddamn vaccine. So suddenly a different guy's there, and it's like now it's perfect. So that bugs me. The amount of misinformation that goes out is like, I'm getting it from the sources that were telling me that you're supposed, you know, like the famous Dr. Fauci, you don't need a mask. He did everything but say you look like a sissy with a mask. Like I'd heard he did that, and I kind of excused it because I was like, well, I remember the great toilet paper riots, so maybe he felt they had to. But then I'm watching him. This guy's lying. He's like, no, you don't need a mask. You're gonna fiddle with it, and like, wow, you're a practiced liar, dude. That's not a doctor. You have an oath you took. So that's a politician. So that bothers me because all these people fighting about masks. He was the one saying you don't need masks. And if you do need masks, people might have died from that. Okay, but whatever. He's Dr. Fat, again, Trump's guy, but is now the good guy. I don't know how that works. Yeah. And then, you know, now you need to double up on your masks. That's his later. Some people have supercuts of him. So this is the main source, and that's already not reliable. Then that press conference about boosters, and I talked to, I opened up for Louis C.K. I did a guest spot. Actually, a guest spot. I didn't open up. It was Shane Gillis and Adrian, but I did a guest spot, and a bunch of writers came to the show because Louis knows all these writers from back in the day. Yeah. This guy and his girlfriend is this writer he had a hot ass girlfriend who was Asian, and she's like some kind of I don't know. She does something with vaccines, or you know. she's not a doctor, but she's something in medical industry, and they had just come from getting their boosters. So she's like, we just got our boosters. I'm like, well, from what I understand from the CDC, not from, the White House that said, yeah, get them. The CDC said, we don't know yet. That's what I don't remember the woman's name. She's the head of the CDC. So that's really bad. I think most people aren't watching. It's not like I'm watching that closely. I'm watching shows that show the clips of it. And I'm like, and they were all, she's like, and you can tell this guy did it because his hot ass girlfriend said, you're going to get that booster. And I brought up the thing about, you're supposed to aspirate the shot. Part of the issue that people have is it's how it's administered. Now, I could be remembering wrong. The way they gave me the Pfizer one, I don't remember it being a regular needle. It looked like something they made just to give the vaccine. Okay. And I didn't have any, I was tired for a week and then I was fine. But if you're using a regular needle, you're supposed to draw back and make sure there's no blood. Because if that shit gets into your blood, that's really bad. That's how you get that enlarged heart and all that shit they talk about as a side effect. So it's not even the vaccine, it's the person giving it. And if they're mass giving it at drugstores, somebody's going to fuck that up, And like I said, my friend Jimmy got sick where he had to get treated with that horse apple dewormer that Rogan had. His doctor gave him that because I think he got the shot probably administered wrong or whatever he got. He got like Moderna or Johnson & Johnson. I thought Pfizer was the good one. But
yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I got.
Well, now somebody just came out and said those tests they did, there's like a whistleblower about that it's like 150 sites doing the tests and only 9 of them got inspected. And the person who raised concerns got fired because they have sloppy work. And what sounds to me is like same old bullshit of some massive company farms out the labor to somewhere else. I mean, it's the same thing America does. We farmed out our death squads to local militias in Afghanistan, it's always farming it out. And they're like, no, there's no problem. You don't think there might be a problem that this is that gigantic and not being watched by anyone. And there's a financial incentive to get it done super fast. And I think I'm probably one of the people that's lucky that it's not going to affect me. Whatever fuck ups they did with this, I'm probably one of the lucky people because I just always have been physically. But I don't blame anybody. I'm not like mad if somebody is afraid to get it. I don't see how that affects me at all. It's not going to prevent the spread because everyone's going to get COVID sooner or later. There's no I thought the vaccine kept it from spreading. No, it doesn't. You can still spread. So I don't even understand why people are mad at each other over whether they got it or not. Like I got it. So why am I afraid of somebody who didn't? And I can't get, it's very hard to get good answers. And I'm very open to hearing, if I'm wrong, I'm very open to hearing why I'm wrong. But I've just been watching a lot of, especially with Rogan, when Joe Rogan came out and made that video and then CNN made his face look sick. Yeah. He's sick for 3 days from it. I don't think he put it all on that ivermectin saved him. He had that other stuff, that mononucleal, what is it called? Monoclonal antibodies.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, he thinks that was like the thing that really kicked it out. And also he's in great shape. But
hey, thanks for mentioning me on his show.
One, let's say he took horse dewormer. Did he steal this from an elderly, naive horse? A doctor prescribed it. So why are you not yelling at the doctor, who, by the way, prescribed this to over 200 members of Congress, it turns out?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's no vax mandates for Congress. They don't have to. There's no vax mandates in New York where that, what's her name, that dipshit governor, the one that replaced Cuomo. So all the healthcare workers that everybody was banging pots and pans together to celebrate, well, they just got rid of 70,000 of them. They laid on who didn't want to get vaccinated because most of them probably already had it, which is the best resistance, is already having had it. That's better than vaccine. That's the science. That's not a thing I made up. And also, it's a little disturbing to me that they don't want to take it. Healthcare professionals, that's scary. Like if you ate at a restaurant and the cooks wouldn't eat there, that's the staff won't eat there. That's a bad sign. But whatever. She kicks him out. The media thinks it's great. Replaces him with National Guard. That was the big. It's fine. It's a pandemic. We can get rid of him with National Guard. National Guard, they don't have to get vaccinated, so they replaced qualified people who are unvaccinated with less qualified unvaccinated people. And it's shocking to me watching like the main news. Like they don't even keep track of the shit they're saying that's different than the shit they just said. It's not even like you have to go look up some fringe thing to tell you this stuff. If you just watch them, you'll be like, and have a memory of any kind. Like, wait, you just said the opposite of that like 5 seconds ago. So
Wow.
I don't know. That's really disturbing to me. It just seems like big pharma kind of clusterfuck. Like and also all this stuff is so political now. That's why Gavin Newsom throws Trump out. Well, they disputed the election. Like, what does that have to do with you? This minor thing that doesn't even need to be anything if you just explain it better. And so now health things are like you're like a Democrat or Republican, when if you look at the statistics, it's mostly brown people that don't want to get vaccinated. And can you blame them? People I know think it's like, oh, it's these white Trump says the vaccine's terrific, go get it. Okay.
Yeah.
It's black people. I know, like, I like all these people talking about, we got to separate them all. You're gonna have segregation for brown people. That's your fucking plan. And I talk to people that they don't even think about it. They're like, no, it's like they just have a vague blob of like this like Trump enemy. And I just like, do you not know any black people in your life? Like, remember when they came out, the guy from there's somebody from the CDC, but he said, I think that people of color should be given access to the vaccine first. And then Fox News was like, this is racist. And I was watching it and I was like, what black people do you know who are going to take that deal? Hey, black people, good news. You can try it first. Like, what the fuck were anybody, I didn't know what anybody was talking about. Anyway,
I don't watch the news. Yeah, that's the thing. I watch Craig's News. That's Craig's News Live. That's the only.
The only real news. And I want to say this for the viewers: Craig's News Live is the only reliable news source that I've found.
Yeah, but I mean, comparatively, that's really all. So that's why all this is news to me, and I haven't seen this footage you're looking at today because I'm over it, man. I'm just so.
That's how I felt for a long time. I didn't watch any news for a while, and then I'll tell you what I like on YouTube. If you watch news, I like. I'll still watch The Hill, even though I don't like the dude Ryan, the Intercept guy there. But they'll have at least there's a chick, Kim Iverson, who's very good on it. I watch Sagar and what's her name, Crystal Ball, Breaking Points. A lot of shit I get from Jimmy's show because he referred me to other really good report. This guy Aaron Mate I have on. It's called The Gray Zone. Him and Max Blumenthal, and they're very lefty, by the way. They're not like I'm not leftist, I wouldn't say, but I just appreciate when I talk to Aaron and bring stuff up, the dude's just straight up like because I don't know if you know this, like I would have known this except for talking to Aaron, was in Syria, like in Syria where we have been waging a dirty war for a while and remember Assad? He used gas, but Obama didn't invade, and he said he would. No, Assad didn't use gas. That's a very, very obvious false flag. CNN had some woman sniffing a scarf on TV. Like, no, it smells like that to me. She's the daughter of a deposed leader of there, and that's really creepy because that's when you realize how much the intelligence agencies are in the news. Like the MSNBC and CNN, all of them are supposed to be keeping an eye on these people, but nobody is. They just take whatever they're handed. So if you saw the Steele dossier that these people are getting arrested for with all that Russiagate bullshit, the news uncritically just took this information and all of it was absolute horseshit. And I knew it was, when I first heard of Russiagate, I knew it was nonsense because it just didn't make any sense why you would need to consult with Trump to put memes out. But they had a whole, he's being blackmailed by Russia, all this bullshit. And Aaron and Max, like they don't like Trump. They're lefties. They're just journalists that are trying to be honest. And that's when you realize what a horrific complex all this stuff is. Like the media's own, military industrial complex people talk about a lot, but how about fucking Nestle or any of these giant companies that do as much damage and they own so anything you've seen about vaccine, about Joe Rogan, for example, on CNN, the commercials there sponsored by Pfizer, like, like how is that not a huge conflict of interest? And I'm supposed to believe, like, I don't think they tell you what you have to say over there, but I do think the reporters there know what not to say. I know a lot of reporters, and they just know what not to talk about.
Yeah.
You don't even have to have a plot. They just know not to bring up certain things and bring up. So now we're locked in an eternal culture war nonsense battle because any real shit is like, you'd probably be a conspiracy theorist to even bring up.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I wish I watched the news more. I would know more about that, but I can't do it anymore, man.
Well, I want to see, because here's another news one, because I think this is like the big social distraction. So I've these guys, Fitch and Adam, who have a great show. I just did their show where they break down other like YouTube videos, and we were watching TYT about Kyle Rittenhouse. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, because you said you're familiar with that, right? You did something with it, or?
Yeah, I can't talk about it because it was hired to work that case.
But you have a video or something that we can look at, you said?
Not of him.
Oh, but from the trial? Well, something, whatever you put in the cloud is what I'm referring
to. It's Travis Scott and Aaron Rodgers. They're the football guy.
Travis Scott.
Yeah.
I totally misunderstood you.
Okay, well, sorry, man.
No, that's totally cool if you're involved in that. But I'll tell you, like, that's the thing where I knew hands down that was going to be, because I watched the video. It's not like it's a mystery of what happened. You can watch. There's multiple video from every angle that show you exactly what's going on.
Yeah, they really did have a lot of that. That was the thing.
They show what set it off, which is Kyle Rittenhouse putting out a fire in a dumpster, which angered the other guy, the child rapist that he shot. That guy comes running at him. There's a gunshot fired. He's trying to run away the whole time. So anyway, any self-defense thing I've ever heard of, so friends of mine that are like, not dumb, but I don't know, they just won't watch the video. I don't get it. They're like, well, he shouldn't have been there. Oh, okay. Well, no shit. I guess a whole bunch of people should have been burning shit down. And they're like, well, he brought a gun across state lines. He's going to skate on that. That's horseshit. He shouldn't even. It's basically like an ideological thing that no one should have that kind of gun. That scares me as a New York liberal. Mm-hmm. And why would you go and even get involved? Like, that's what people say. Like, why would you even go down there and put yourself? Just let him burn shit down. Like, I don't know. It's just crazy to me. And to see something that's that cut and dry, that makes me think like, I think ultimately what it is it probably shows you what they've been doing to black kids for the last however many years, is painting you up like a thing that you're not. And this one got a lot of attention because it's not because he's because he's a white guy, but because it has so many political.
Oh yeah.
He probably this is those Trump QAnon people. So you can lump it into the group, and then I don't think they give a shit about what actually happened. I think it's about everything's about your side winning. But I knew he was going to get off on self-defense because it's obvious. I don't even understand how they could keep pushing this forward, other than a political thing by that district attorney.
Yeah, I have no clue on that. I mean,
okay, so let's take a quick break to talk about our friends at Manscaped. It's the holiday season, everyone, and you're going to be seeing your family. Do you want them to know you have the Performance Package 4.0 from the global leaders in male grooming? I do. I have a very fine nose hair trimmer that I use from them. I have to say I'm quite grateful for it. Thank you, Manscaped. And not only that, it included their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer to trim my balls so that my privates don't look like Duck Dynasty. Gift yourself Manscaped, or the man in your life who needs it, or just another male friend who you're comfortable enough to say, hey, why don't you shave your nuts a little bit? Join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with 20% off plus free shipping with the code KURT, K-U-R-T, that's my name, by going to manscaped.com. I'm telling you, this Lawnmower 4.0 is one of the best shavers. Why not get one and shave my name, Kurt, into your bush and surprise someone you love? Well, it's time for the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0, or as I like to call it, Meta Dick. I got that from Mark Zuckerberg. Maybe I can't stick with it, but get the package. Inside, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your goodies. It's like a cornucopia horn of plenty with ball accessories. For the gifters out there, Manscaped is sealing the deal with 2 free gifts in their Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. It's the ultimate hack to becoming the family favorite. Hey, are you meeting the in-laws, male or female? I don't judge here. And you're meeting their father for the first time. Why not gift him with a Lawnmower 4.0 ball trimmer to let him know that his precious little angel's with the right person? Manscaped has been busy and just launched their refined body wash and 2-in-1 shampoo plus conditioner. Both feature the Manscaped signature scent and will help unlock your confidence this year. Your boys and body will be oh so fresh and so clean. And you can be sure that Santa will visit you because you're one of the good ones who trim their ball hair right. Now, go right now to manscaped.com, get 20% off plus free shipping with the code KURT, K-U-R-T. That's my name. 20% off plus free shipping with the code KURT at manscaped.com. Let's be thankful this holiday season with the best gift of all from Manscaped. Your balls will thank you. All right, back to the show. Travis Scott, the video you do have.
Yeah.
Travis Scott, who I'm vaguely familiar with because I'm old.
I didn't know who he was. I had no idea who this guy was.
I guess
we
it's
did him on the behavior panel. Yeah. I had no
this would be like trap rap or something, or it sounds like SoundCloud bullshit to me. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd be at this point because I remember being a kid and adults being like, hip hop's not music. And then, you're like, well, there's the thing they are doing. And now I'm like, that's not what hip hop is. Like, you just, so he makes this garbage as far as I'm concerned. It sucks. But I guess people got trampled at his show.
Yeah, man. Like, I think 9 people died at this point. Yeah.
And the video is pretty horrific where you can see, like, that's my big phobia is being packed in like that.
Oh, really?
And people couldn't move. They're just you're just part of this mass that you go where the crowd goes. It looked like a nightmare. And then you're hearing Travis Scott on top of it. So that's probably hellish. This video that you have is of Travis or of who?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's of Travis, and it's his it's a video of him telling about what he thinks about what happened, I guess. He's sort of saying, it's horrible. I didn't know it was going to happen. I feel bad about it, all those kind of things. So we can watch it and then we'll talk about it if you want.
To the ones that was lost last night, we're actually working right now to identify the families so we can help assist them through this tough time. My fans really mean the world to me, and I always just really want to leave them with a positive experience. And anytime I can make out, anything that's going on, I just stop the show and, help them get the help they need, I could just never imagine the severity of the situation. We've been working closely with everyone to just try to get to the bottom of this. The City of Houston, HPD, Fire Department, everyone help us figure this out. So if you have any information, please just contact your local authorities. Everybody continue to just keep your prayers. I mean, I'm honestly just devastated, and I could never imagine anything like this just happening. I'm gonna do everything I can to keep you guys updated and just keep you guys informed on what's going on. Love you all.
So what did you get from that?
It's a lot about him. He says I 8 times. He says we 3 times. And it's just, and he mentions the people who got hurt, I think, twice, or the people who got killed twice. It seems like, again, this is one of those things where we see a narcissistic personality telling what he thinks, how he feels about something. Who gives a shit how he feels about something? If they ask him to go on, you can tell he's been told not to say some things. He's been told to say this, this, and this, and he covers those bases. And once he gets his bases covered, he keeps going because he's got to show everybody, I feel bad or something. Who gives a shit if he feels bad?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's have some information. I think what was in question was while this was going on, he didn't stop. And I think that again comes to everything is about him at this point, even from what the words he was using. That really gets on my nerves because if you watch somebody like Dave Grohl, if you go to a Foo Fighters show and a fight breaks out, he stops the damn show and he says, "Hey, asshole, let's quit it. Get this. You're out." And kick. Have you ever seen that video where he kicks the guy out? You got to watch that.
No.
Because he's watching. He's watching the audience. He's watching the people there. He's paying attention to the crowd, what's going on, as an artist has to do. But this guy, it's all about him, and he's not paying attention out there. It's tough to see a lot of lights and all that, but you still can see what's going on in the front few rows. In the front few rows, there were people hollering at him to stop because something was happening. If he says, "I always try to pay attention to my fans and all that," while during the show, no, obviously he doesn't, because there are videos of people yelling, "Stop! People are dying," that kind of thing, and it doesn't stop. He's not listening. He's not paying attention to him. Maybe it was a part of a song that's really important to him or whatever. I don't know how long this went on, but his inability to communicate, one-on-one, I guess, with his audience, which is the key to that, for the longevity anyway. He's not doing it. He's not watching them. He's not doing it with them. He's doing it for him, and he's doing it and not paying attention to what's happening in the audience.
Yeah,
and I think that's why they think, since he kept going, they thought he didn't care or something. You can tell there's a lot of things on there that let you know that for sure he's stressed about it. We're seeing all kinds of stress cues. Rubbing his head. I think that's part of his show, part of it though too, because you don't see that very often. Somebody's rubbing their head. There are a couple people that I've seen in the past do that, but not over and over and over and closing your eyes and talking about yourself. He's getting apart. There's a lot of lawsuits that are in play.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So he's saying things to protect himself. Ahead of
what's
time.
the things he has to say to protect himself? Not. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he was saying, I didn't know what was. In other words, he was saying, I didn't know what was happening. I usually pay attention to what's going on in the audience, and for some reason, I didn't know. And and at the beginning, it wasn't there. But if you listen to the very beginning, he talks about praying to the victims. It's like we prayed.
What is that? What he said? I missed that. He said he prays.
He said, "I'm sending out prayers to the victims, or the prayers to the people who died, or whatever." So he doesn't say it in those words, but he says send out prayers to them. But he says it for them.
It's kind of like you make a prayer in somebody's name to Jesus, like donate to a charity on their behalf.
You're praying for them. Hey God, or Jesus, shoot, man, please be these people. But it wasn't that. That's how I think disconnected he is from that, or from reality at this point. He's a pretty big star, or a fairly big artist.
No, he is.
I have no idea. I've never heard of this guy before.
Well, how old? He's young, right? He's got to be like in his 20s or something.
I would think so. He looks fairly young. Looks like a cool dude, But
yeah, right.
But I don't, I don't know.
If you're young and you get that famous, like the fact that all these people. Here's the videos I saw. I saw a video of this packed crowd and an ambulance trying. Oh, he's 30. Oh, that's a little. So. There's an ambulance coming through this packed crowd, which looked nightmarish. I'm going to say, like, you got to drive like a zombie movie or something. And then I saw all the people crashing the gate to get into the show.
Yeah.
The only thing I had heard, which I don't know if this is 100% true, was that he was kind of like, "Oh, that's awesome. People crash the gate to get in," which, I mean, would make sense to me because once you get that huge at a young age, I've watched people do it. I mean, I've seen it like very up close how that works. It's already like all about you when you're pursuing something like that, and then when you get success at it and money at it, it's like now you're a business that supports a bunch of different things and you have access to, my guess is he probably does a lot of drugs, I would say, when I was 30 with not that amount of fame or money, I did a lot of drugs. And, Dave Grohl, you were saying, like, I worked with him once on an award show. Like Dave Grohl's like super pro, like, and like,
yeah, man.
Like an adult. And that sounds like just a difference of like Travis Scott came off like a jerk off kid that had no idea about how severe anything is until this thing happened for some reason. That's the impression I got. Like, and the narcissist thing, this is what I'm curious about is like if he's just like that, or you do get encouraged to be like that a lot. And also everyone's encouraged to worship you. It's like kind of what's horrible about America compared to other places is celebrity worship here is way, if you go to Canada, you can go buy a latte from the former cast of Degrassi Junior High. Like they don't have what we have here. Remember how Gaddafi, the soccer teams only had numbers and no names, so no one could be a bigger celebrity than him.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a thing and that's like some commercial thing that everybody, in fact, now it seems worse than ever because all the, you hear that shit where they're like, you're supposed to watch my friend, we haven't talked in a while, but Kumail is a comic I know, Kumail Nanjiani, he's in that new Eternals.
Yeah.
And I was joking with him because he got in like beautiful shape for this movie to be a superhero.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, everybody's fucking fat, like they pranked him. Like, yeah, no, we're all gonna get in shape. And then they're like, no, come as you are. So that movie, if you see the press for that, the movie, I guess, I didn't see it, but I guess it's not good, supposedly. But all the press was like, yeah, no, people are going to finally see themselves reflected on these movies. Like if you're like a fat Asian kid, you're like, that's you on the screen. There's this insane thing that you're supposed to like, somebody else is going to have all the money and fame, but they're basically you. And you're supposed to get invested like they're you. It's like everywhere. It's what politics is. That's what that guy Gavin was doing. Trump is basically the bad people. I'm basically hit. We're all basically this one, whoever figurehead, and then nothing of substance has to happen. But we feel like they're a mirror for you now, and so I don't know. Like that, I'm just curious how much that is his character defect that he started out with naturally, and how much gets laid on you as you're making money and doing that, because I'm sure what went through his head, like times when I've sold out, never numbers like that. Nobody ever trampled each other for me, Scott. No, but you're like, oh, awesome, I sold out. Like that's got to be very intoxicating to hear that people are breaking down the fence to see your show. And if you don't have any maturity and you're like a druggie or whatever, you're gonna be like, oh, this is awesome. And if you have an element of like, yeah, burn it, like a child's understanding of burn it all down, like, yeah, rock and roll, like that shit. That's probably all of that. I'm just curious of what they told him not to say, because from what I heard, he knew that this was happening. And what happened to the Rolling Stones at Altamont? Were they found responsible for hiring the Hells Angels?
I don't know. But did you see that? But there's video of it actually happening.
The stabbing or that?
The stabbing.
Oh yeah, there's a whole documentary about it when the 60s ended or whatever. And they're like, that's that typical stupid, like rich liberal thing. Or like, yeah, the Hells Angels, that's cool. Like they're like, they're a violent biker gang. They're like, no, they're like rebels and like the man, and it's a fucking disaster. Like what's the book? Radical Chic. Tom Wolfe had that book, Radical Chic, about like all the kind of New York intellectuals. And they like, they like having like, you have like some Black Panthers in, and they're like, you're a white devil. Like, oh, that's fabulous. Like that's stupid attitude. Yeah, it really is getting grosser and grosser. I'm very. The main thing I'm surprised at is I can't imagine dying to hear that guy's. I may have old ears, but when I try to listen to it, I don't know what the fuck I'm listening to.
Is it too loud? Do they drive too fast? Maybe their hair is too low.
It's not loud. It's just there's no. There's a bunch of rappers working now that are like great at what they do. Like he's not like a lyric guy. He's like the kind of horse shit that.
Yeah, but I guess think about it. We were around when hip hop started, man. When it began and got up in it then. So that we have an understanding that even kids who are into hip hop today, they don't have that understanding. They don't know what that is. Even Run DMC, most of them don't even know who the hell that is.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, even like I could like Run DMC. I was real young when that came out. I'm just surprised by. Well, you know what? Here's the other byproduct too. Is now you could get big off of SoundCloud or something. You don't really need to go through the traditional like gatekeepers for all that shit, which is kind of a good thing. So, and people will support, like those sketches I make with Kyle, which don't have the best production values, but I notice people like them better because of that, because it's the kind of do-it-yourself thing.
Yeah, man.
So that could be a thing with his music. It's like people like this guy made this like, it's like the appeal of punk rock. What it looks like to me is like punk rock, where it's like anybody can be in a band. You don't have to be good. It's better if you're not even good at it.
Hey, so what happened with Kyle's show? What happened? Because I watched it today. Because
we had a technical problem that I don't know. I think Jessica hit like something wrong. It was I understand how she made the mistake, but
so she's moving for real.
Well, she's still doing the show. I think she has a boyfriend or something. Portland is what the deal is.
Okay.
She was living in his garage apartment, like the whole thing where I live in Sloan's garage. That's actually Jessica lives in the garage.
Okay. Yeah.
And she got a boy. I don't know if she met the boyfriend from the show. I don't remember, but I think that's why she's going to like Portland. I would do anything. I would be like, why don't you leave Portland and come? I don't want to be in fucking Portland. I think it's still on fire. Like I think Portland's been on fire every day for the last like 7 months.
Yeah, it's a great place, but man, I couldn't live there. I really.
It used to be way better. And that's when that show came out with Fred Armisen.
Oh yeah, Portlandia. Gosh.
Look how cute it is. And it's really funny because with the very first episode, they explained the appeal of Portland to like Fred and Carrie. So Fred's a New York guy who's like, imagine if Al Gore had won back in the day. And it's like, 90s, like, and so all these people with money that are like, liberal, not leftist, liberal, like, oh, it's so quirky and cute. And they don't understand the people living there, like what Oregon is or what Portland is, or Seattle is. Like, there's a whole bunch of like crazy, like Antifa is largely unorganized other than a few like cells of it that are in Portland, like Rose City Antifa. That's the ones that wanted to get that guy Andy No, that got hit with the glass,
Oh, wow.
The Asian gay guy. They all hate him. So there's people, there's no such thing as Antifa. You always hear this like downplayed, depending on what side you're on. So if you're a liberal, you'd be like, oh, stop talking about Antifa. That's not a thing. And no, it is a thing, and they hate you, the people that are in it. And even worse than that, the fact that it's not really that well organized nationally, any crazy can just be a part of it for the day, and that's how all these groups do now. Like, take your pick of whoever people don't like. Like Jimmy interviewed a Boogaloo Boy and everybody gave him shit because the guy turned out was gay and not right wing, and I think was defending Black Lives Matter. That's why they were there. But the narrative is that there's these groups that are like, what I think is like there's probably a lot of COINTELPRO shit, just like the 60s, where just like it, January 6th, or what was that kidnapping plot for Governor Whitmer of
oh yeah. Forgot about that. Yeah.
And it was like more
you remember all that stuff.
Plotting than actual conspirators.
Yeah.
And that's what we did, by the way, the whole war on terror. There's like 300 something cases of people of bullshit, not real terrorists. We farmed the labor out to some guy, some expert, who then went to mosques to find crazies, give them money, plan a terror attack for them, for people that could never even carry it out. And then the FBI comes in and arrests them and makes a big show out of it. And meanwhile, while they're dicking around doing that, the Boston Marathon bombing happened, which they had warnings about right and left. But it's like from The Wire, the juke the numbers thing. This juking the numbers shit has been going on so long. And the interesting thing is to see it now affecting like coming home. Like nobody really gave a shit. I didn't really think about it too much when it was like the Muslims and the war on terror. I was in New York when the building blew up, and I was like, well, somebody's got to blow up today.
Did you see it? Were you close? Did you see it?
I was in Long Island City, which is across the Hudson, or I think it's the Hudson, I don't remember. But I have pictures of it where I'm standing on the roof. And so one building had went, and then we went up on the roof, and the other building got hit.
Wow.
The city smelled like bodies. I just remember it smelled like, I didn't really even know what dead bodies smelled like to that degree, but you could smell it. It was like,
it's something you never forget. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's a real distinct thing. And it's not like so strong, but it was like what is that smell like? And it was everywhere. And probably whatever particles we all breathed in being around there. And I didn't really give too much of a shit about what we were going to go, when they're like, oh yeah, we're definitely going to do something. But what do we have this military for if we're not going to get some kind of get back? And And then people started saying it's an inside job and all that nonsense. They're like, they don't need to make an inside job. We were all stupid and we're like, yeah, no, Iraq. That makes sense. They had nothing to do with it, and you have to go there. You got to start somewhere. You don't even need a lizard person conspiracy for that, or like hologram jets. That's what somebody actually told me, that they were holograms.
Yeah. I don't know, man. That whole thing is just so out there, you know?
Well, there's the thing where people don't trust. You really can't trust any institution now. I mean, maybe you never could. Yeah. And I it's funny seeing the establishment freak out, because there is a real thing going on where a bunch of white people that had no idea what it was like now know what it's like. And that's scary to these other people at the top who still think it's, Obama times in their head or whatever the fuck they think. It's because all those conspiracies I used to hear, those were all from black friends, almost exclusively. And then around 9/11, I started hearing like the Illuminati or the classics.
Yeah.
No Jews died on 9/11. That was a black thing. That's what I remember. Okay. But now you'll see it. So there's an entry level to not trusting the establishment for every intellect. So if you're dumb and you need it to be that they're lizards, there's that for you. Or you feel like, I think the earth is flat. I don't even trust you about the shape of the earth.
But isn't that a joke, though? The flat earth thing, isn't that a joke? I mean, didn't they find out, or do they think that? Who the hell is going to really think that? You know what I'm saying?
A bunch of people, and they're mad that you don't already. I've done a lot of podcasting, so I probably know more flat earthers than the average person, in person.
Who are like leaning into it, like, yeah, it's true.
It's been around forever. There, in Michigan, I was actually I was trying to write a script years ago about. There's a place called Zion, Michigan, that was founded by some cuckoo religious cult that was based around flat Earth, and the guy set up a secret police force. It was like no women can't ride horses, no globularists, which is what they call the people think the Earth is round. And then they had secret police that enforced all this crazy shit in this town, and then they'd send the secret police that they had there into other towns to make sure people from their town weren't like drinking or breaking the laws of their town. Real wild shit that you're not allowed to do. And the only reason it came down was not anybody like, hey, a government can't do this. The guy had some like tax problems or something, and that's what brought the town down. But that there's been, because it's Bible, it's like, if you're a real fundamentalist where you're like, so dumb that you can't even get in your head that maybe this was written along. Jehovah's Witnesses are, I wouldn't say kind of fundamentalists. Like, I thought those stories were true. I thought those were all history. Okay, all that stuff. So fundamentalists to that degree, but we didn't think the Earth was made in 6 days, and we didn't think, what do you call it? Like some of the dumber things that you hear. Like we thought the Earth was round because the Bible said in Job that the God is hanging the circle of the earth upon nothing at all. Like, oh, that's that's what it's like. We're in space. The Earth's a sphere, not really a circle, so it doesn't really work. But that was, we would at least meld it to the shit that you can't deny now if you bother to look into it.
Yeah.
So if the people that really believe in flat Earth, that was a Bible thing in America, at least 1800s, and very fringe. Not a lot of people knew. I used to have a book called Kooks. It's by Donna Cosi. This is pre-internet. This woman in San Francisco collected every fringe belief she could find and made a museum of it. Okay, now the internet is like obsolete, but really great book. And it has everything from people who think dinosaurs are like devils, like that Satan made, and just everything. And kind of like outsider artists. Donna Cosi, Kooks, great book. I don't know if it's even in print still, but if you get a copy, it's great. So I heard of. That's when in 1995 or 6, I'm like, oh, people think the Earth is flat. So it was weird. I started to hear about it more like, 20, 30 years later. Wow. And it's like, now they have conventions, and it's not religious all like that. It's people, the smarter ones will be like, I don't know why they're lying about it. It's really weird that they do that. I don't know why. Because they know not to say what they think, which is probably something crazy. Oh. The dumber ones will tell you it's because there's a soul net around the earth, and it's to keep your vibrations low so you can't meet God or whatever the fuck. Like, the dumber ones have a whole thing, but the slightly more savvy ones, they just say, no, I'm just saying the earth is flat. For some reason, they're lying to us. and they will. I like talking to them. I actually don't. I don't think they're a problem. I think it's fine. I don't know what it affects if some dummy thinks the Earth is flat. If the Earth is flat, what would that change about my life? Nothing. I think people make, if misinformation is such a big deal, how come we went into Iraq and everything turned out fine? There was no need to punish anyone or, throw, like, New York Times didn't have to be canceled for saying there was yellow cake uranium. It's now misinformation's a thing for a politician to make a big deal about, as if that's the threat. So it's all like these losers in court, like the January 6th losers. Those are all people that, that's why they're there. They grabbed onto this stuff. Like, oh, that's the real threat. Is it the dumb? Somebody took a shit in Pelosi's desk. That's our big 9/11 now. So now, because there's no trust and these people aren't getting the message that are in charge, or they are getting it and they don't care. I can't tell which. You have to hate your neighbor because they're stupid and they don't believe the thing you believe. And we need that more than ever for some reason now. So you got to hate the unvaccinated and you got to hate, a flat earther. Somebody told me it was dangerous that that basketball player tweeted that. A guy knows a sportscaster who's into Astroland. He goes, that's dangerous that Kyrie Irving would tweet that he thinks what? That's the least dangerous thing I've ever heard of ever happening in human history. What a basketball player thinks about the Earth. Like if we were going to him from NASA and asking him his feelings, that might be, I guess, dangerous for a rocket mission. Or like, if he thinks basketballs are flat, I would be concerned for him. But it's dangerous, no, not in any way, shape, or form. And so, I don't know. This is the new danger now, to take away your fucking rights, basically. That's why I like, I'm totally reversed of how I used to feel about gun people and all whatever kooks are stockpiling weapons, because they could say all day. Now, I wouldn't own a gun because I'm afraid of it. I like shooting them, but I don't have one in my house. Like, I don't want to even, I'm just not cut out for that. But I like that some people do, because if this shit gets any crazier, where now that we got the biometric scans and it gets any more China-like, and I think you heard Biden say like, oh, what are you going to fight the government? That's what I say. Like, how are you going to fight the government and tyranny with your fucking shitty AR-15? And they have drones and all that. You know what? Of course they can. We just got our ass kicked by a country from the fucking Stone Age for 20 years straight. Obviously, you can very successfully do that. So I'm not like, I just want there not to be these monopolies of power. That's what I'm into now. Yeah. Like, I like that there's independent, because I don't trust any of the monopolies like that you're supposed to trust. I just don't. And I think your best bet now is to have a checks and balances of, like, well, let's hope that Disney doesn't like what Nestle's doing. Like, that's your branches of government now. And you have to hope for as many little groups as possible split up to keep things from turning full China, is my feeling.
Wow.
Yeah, that's my wait. I want to see your other video. I keep going on these tangents. I got to do a show, so I'm trying to like.
Oh, okay.
Get into podcast. If I'm in podcast mode, I can do a good show. Like the mode out too long. I don't know. Yeah, this podcast is really not an interview show. It's me blowing hot air mostly. All right, so just set this show, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Are you vaccinated?
No. What's his like? Why is this? Why were you watching his body language? Because I don't follow sports at all.
Okay, I don't either. I don't know shit about sports, but apparently what's happened was this guy said he'd been immunized. He didn't say he'd been vaccinated. He said he'd been immunized. Then he tested positive for COVID.
Wow.
And he plays for whoever that team is, and he's throwing these guys under the bus for not getting vaccinated, and he didn't either.
Oh, so. Wait. So so he was, because if you are immunized that's better than the vaccine. That's what the science says. That's not a thing I made up. So fair enough on him, but he was trashing people who didn't get vaccinated, and he didn't, is what you're saying.
Well,
wow.
Yeah, he says he doesn't hold. He goes, there are some players that didn't, but I don't hold that against them. You'll see it in here. You'll see it.
And what's your stance on vaccinations?
Yeah, I've been immunized. There's a lot of conversation around it, around the league, and a lot of guys who have made statements and I've made statements, owners who made statements. There's guys on the team that haven't been vaccinated. I think it's a personal decision. I'm not going to judge those guys.
Yeah. So
Wow.
he's coming on like, yeah, I've been vaccinated, but they haven't, but I'm not going to hold it against them. Come on, man. I was cool with him until he said that. Who says immunized? That's the first time I'd heard.
I don't need it because I mean, that's how I took it. It's like, I don't need to get the vaccine because I had it. That's what I imagine that means.
Yeah, but I haven't heard anybody say that before, especially in a situation like that. You'd say, I've been vaccinated. That's it.
Well, because the vaccine doesn't immunize you. That's one problem. It just raises your chances of survival. And so that's like that looks very like eyes darting around. But I would say in defense of him, like, who wants to go through this shit of saying, like, the thing I'm saying, I don't know, but probably on YouTube it'll be a problem that I even said that shit about natural immunity. But natural immunity is like 70%. It's something like 70% better than the vaccine. After I got the vaccine, I got sick, but and it felt like I had a flu, but it was like almost over. Like I had a cough, but it was like that dry. It was like when you're getting over a cough, and I was like, oh, maybe I got COVID. I was hoping it was COVID, so I'm like, this ain't so bad. And then but it turns out you can get other things still. That's not the only virus left in the world. So he probably doesn't want to go through the shit you're going to go through to say like, I had it, so I don't think I need it. I mean, what would happen to him for that? Like, he probably has all kinds of stuff on the line, right? Like where it could like come down on him.
It is, I believe. I think some people that he was, some of his sponsors or whatever, doing the way sports people do. I think they're distancing themselves from him. I think he's lost his deals with some sponsors. So.
It's the sponsors, dude. That's the thing. You're going to lose it because they don't want to be associated with anything. Now, once Facebook Meta, when Mark Zuckerberg's Meta comes out, and we live in, and we won't even have to hear about sensitive topics. We won't even have that talk. We'll all just have elevator music of conversation.
Yeah. What is this Meta thing? Do you know what the hell's going on? When does it start?
He's rebranding Facebook. He's in. You saw that whole thing with the whistleblower, who about how. And I'm reading her things that she says they did. I'm like, I'm not seeing, you're not including like the stealing the data and all, all the shit that's bad that they do is not in there. Mm-hmm. All that's in there is he's not helping my side politically, which is why you see a whistleblower showing their face, because if she was a real whistleblower, she'd have to go move to Russia or something. Yeah. You can't be there's no star whistleblower. So
that's true.
And I didn't come up with this. Several other people mentioned this, but it's a great point. You notice she's not saying, okay, so Facebook's dangerous because all this information flows through it. Okay. We need to break this monopoly up because it's dangerous to have it all. No, we just need us to be in control of this great system to just make sure it's just what we want. So that's not really doing anything. That's just offering me another kind of fucking horseshit. And, the only people that think that that's a whistleblower are like Democrats. Like if you're like a blue MAGA, I don't know who made up blue MAGA, but it really applies. There's like blue MAGA people that, everything's like, no, we're the good guys. And it's like you ever hear the philosophy thing of, is God great because he does great things, or is God great because everything God does is great?
Oh, and, didn't think about that.
I never have either. I saw it. And I remember growing up, God was great because everything he does is great. That's what it said. God can do whatever the fuck he wants, and it's automatically good because he is good. I mean, don't worry, it won't be bad because he's good, even if, but that's what they apply to themselves. So all their morals are derived from politics. They're not bringing morals to the politics, because then it would collapse several narratives, right? So you have to start out with, well, we're the good ones. And I just know all these people that's their driving thing is, I'm better than you. And as the great Anna Kasparian once said, that's their entire, what's his name? The guy who wrote What's the Matter with Kansas, Thomas Frank.
Okay.
He wrote another book called Listen Liberal. It's all about like, what's the matter with Kansas? Why are these people voting against their interests as they, and he lays out how destroyed all these people were by Clinton, fucking Democrats and the NAFTA and all that shit. I didn't know. I lived in New York doing comedy, so I wouldn't even know what the fuck people were going through anywhere else other than traveling a little bit. That's how I knew Trump was going to win in 2016, because I would travel and I'd be like, I don't know, it doesn't look like he's going to lose to me. And but these people have gotten more bubbled and bubbled in, and I just know them up close. I just been up close with so many of them, and they're so like, they don't know what they don't want to know, and they know they're the good ones, and they know there's the bad. And as things get crazier, they retreat more and more into it, much like a QAnon person or whatever. It's the same exact things, but you have your, high class QAnon is Russiagate. That's for like, if you're like an elite, your crazy conspiracy is that Trump something, Russia, Hillary would have totally won if not for Russia's dank memes that Trump fucking, that's a fucking conspiracy that there's going to be no punishment for any of these news organizations. I guess the people getting arrested, the couple fall guys now are getting arrested for that Steele dossier. But there's not going to be any real, and these news organizations that want to come down on like Joe Rogan, let's say, for just saying what his doctor gave him. Yeah. Even if Joe Rogan said like, I don't know what he said that is so inaccurate or misinformation. I'm sure he has said something. He's a fucking comic, but his hit rate's got to be about 90% better than every major media outlet by a lot. So there's no.
He's the news now. Yeah, if you want to find out what's going on, watch Joe Rogan. That cat's everywhere, man. He's all over it.
Well, he's a good interviewer. He has like really great guests. Unlike me, I don't know how to interview properly. I just blather. But he sits there, and then this is what converted me to watching, is because I never watched Rogan's show. I'd been on it back in the day times.
No, man, I've been watching it for years. I'm all up in it.
Dude, I started watching the clips on YouTube. And the one where I was like, oh, he's like really good, was when he had the guy from Adam Ruins Everything. Remember that show, Adam Ruins Everything, with the company?
I know. I saw that one. Yeah.
I was amazed at that, because I watched this. I know people that worked with him. I worked with this. I won't say her name. She's great. This producer who was trashing him with me, and he's a pompous idiot. Okay, and his show is not like accurate. He acts like it's like, he's dropping some knowledge on you, but it's just fucking garbage. So he's like, I'm talking to this dumb jock, Joe Rogan. They all think Joe's dumb. And it's not that Joe's claiming to be smart. He listens, right? And then he asks these basic questions I wouldn't even think to ask, because I'd be so fucking freaked out from the stupid thing the person just said.
Yeah, but he's great, that mate. That's the thing. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't give a shit about what anybody thinks or what anybody says. There's that that stoic thought and that stoic way of living. And that's him, man. He's totally that, Yeah,
right. It makes people upset. It actually is like, you can actually tell like how much of like a bigot someone is, because I don't mean like racial. I think that means racist to people, bigot, but it's not, obviously what the word means. Because all these people I know are like bigots. Like the people I know in New York who are my friends, who are like, oh, Kyle Rittenhouse is guilty of a thing, because they're bigots. They're mad because he lives some life they don't live, and they can't believe that he's exercising any rights that he was allowed to exercise. Same thing, Rogan. He looks like a jock, and he likes fighting, and he thinks that trans women shouldn't fight actual women. That was what him and Adam talked about, right? Yeah. And Joe Rogan asked very basic. He goes, okay, well, if your child's a woman inside, why can't they just live as a female? Why do you need to give them puberty blockers or hormones? And then Adam's like, well, all the trans people I know are like, hey, that little kid was me. That was me, that kid. And Joe goes, but it's not them. It's a separate person. Maybe they had a similar experience, but no, it's not them. Because Adam was parroting that shit. I was talking about Travis Scott, like, ooh, I'm reflected. That's me. Yeah. And Joe just said a very basic thing I wouldn't even have thought to say. And then I watched Adam fucking go, I don't think we should talk about this because we're not trans. He had to back out of the whole conversation from being cocky, which is a really amazing. So that converted me to watching the show. He has great guests on there.
Did you see that clip? And I don't think he put it out. Somebody else did. If he was in some bar with somebody and they had one of those bags that you do, except you just hit it as hard as you can. And my God, man, these guys, it was watching him hit this bag just like they would punch it and the number would be really high or whatever. Man, I can't imagine. And the guy's so, if I could do that, man, I would just be the biggest asshole, I'm sure. Because he'd be walking around going, hey, man.
Usually you don't become like that until you have enough brain damage from fighting. Like, I don't think he has CTE that a lot of, I used to know, you remember Mayhem Miller from MMA?
Yeah.
Funny guy. I used to like him too. I mean, I don't dislike him now, but I think his brain's fucked up. I think he got like, a lot, there's that guy who beat his girlfriend. Like, it was horrible what he did to her. I don't remember what his name was. He beat her like a trans woman fighting a woman in the, and but that, they always push this stuff as it's better than boxing. War Machine. Boxing 100%. I know boxing. You've probably met boxers before. When they're punching.
Oh yeah.
And MMA was always supposed to be like, it's better because it's better to actually just get knocked out clean than take sustained blows. But it turns out it's just as bad. It's like people get, in fact, I'll bet you a lot of these, OJ, I'm sure, was a CTE thing that probably built up over. He has a big fucking head that's like probably rammed a lot. And that guy, Jason Hernandez, remember him? The one that yeah, he kept getting hit in the head until he turned all gay and murdery and I saw other football players like, well, I have CTE. I don't do stuff like that. I'm like, well, it's a crapshoot, man. It's a wheel of CTE. Yeah. I'm wondering how much shit we're gonna find out is like brain damage or what's that stuff that's in everybody now? Phthalamites, microplastics that is in all of us, and children's taints are smaller now.
See, I got Joe Rogan's hat. I wear my Joe Rogan hat all the time too. I'm one of those. I'm a fan.
He bought a Joe Rogan
mask. That was good.
Yeah. That's hilarious. Can you imagine getting humiliated like that and then you have to buy merch from the guy? That's the most brutal. That's the most brutal blow of all. Is you get embarrassed and then you have to buy his merch. Yeah, but anyway, Rogan, I will say this straight up, of people I know in the business for many years, probably one of the most straight up, just like good guys.
I think you can see that on him. See that? Here's the thing. There were two guys that I wrote letters to every day in high school. It was Bootsy Collins and then Roger Troutman of Zap. And so, and every day in high school, I still got some of them that I never did get the mail off, and I read them, and they're corny, but I'd write, "Dear Bootsy," I'd tell him what I was doing that day, and "Hey man, you're the greatest." And then I went on to do a couple of records with him and got to know him. And the first time I met him, I went to Memphis. And when I went in to meet him, I was ready for him to be up in the corner of this where the signal was like float down and go, "Hey," all that. And they said, "Scott, what are you doing, man?" And I was like, and it was great because I could meet him, but he wasn't that but he was as cool as I always thought he would be. Like to this day, I love the guy, and he's I know him, and he's the greatest guy in the world. And I think that's the way Joe Rogan is too. I think he'd be just exactly what I think he would be. I would hope he would be.
Yeah, that's why he's a I always bring up Patrice O'Neill because Patrice would do that. People like if you had any like phoniness about you, you hated him. Like because he would not even do the standard politeness to phonies that is kind of required in the business that we were in. Now being this is what's so gross about the times now. Honesty is actually toxic. It's considered toxic. Yeah. And I don't mean honesty like you're right necessarily about what you're saying, but just being honest. Yeah. Like you're a toxic person for that. And that shows you what a fucking sick, there's a reason Jehovah's Witnesses are like doubled in size since I left. Because if I was going to go preach this to people, I'd be like, look around you. It looks like, so the idea that God's going to wipe it out gets pretty appealing to people. But it really is like up is down now where like, it didn't used to be like that. It used to be, you could be a real ass motherfucker and that was a good thing. And it's completely changed.
These days, though, see, and this is what it looks like to me. Comedians are going to save this thing, I think, because they keep look at
Chappelle,
Bill Burr and Chappelle.
You know what? Chappelle's the only guy I know. I wrote for that show. the Chappelle Show it's on HBO Max. Only season 1 and 2 because he didn't want them show. Season 3 was kind of after he left. Comedy Central put together, like Neil had what they shot, and Chappelle muscled them into not putting the season that he didn't approve on there. Okay,
that's what I heard. Yeah,
and there's a contract that they could totally do that, but I guess like the George Floyd thing was happening or something at the time, and like they didn't look back. That's one of the few people I know, besides I guess Rogan, but Chappelle especially, because Chappelle, like, they all have to do well, but I guess both of them have this thing where they want Chappelle specials. Netflix wants Chappelle specials. You know what I mean? Like, so how many like one single person do you know who could stand up to a megacorp and make them? And you know, at the time, I didn't know why he ran to Africa. I thought it was like kind of fucked up, to be honest, because that whole story that went around was not why he went. They just said, "Oh, well, somebody laughed too hard at a thing." None of that was real. But I know why he went now. He used to have a joke about it after you get like 50 million, they go, Dave Chappelle, meet the real white people, and they pull like a curtain. Because that 50 million, it's not slavery. That would be silly, but you are. It's like like we gave you this money and we own your ass, kind of, and what like he has. I mean, like he definitely has a massive ego. I think he's like a genius comic, so I'm not like trying to say it.
I think so too. Yeah,
I wouldn't have the ego to run to Africa, which I think was the right thing to do. Now looking back, you know, I wouldn't have the balls to do that. And or like Rogan's got the balls to, you know, Spotify's not going to lose their $150 million investment because some blue hair. That's how I think it will save it, is because, and by save it, I mean in a corporate sense.
No, it's going to turn it around. Look what Kyle's doing, even where he goes, my favorite superheroes who are queers. When he does that, you know, and you're like, but it's still making those tiny little steps towards, you know, people going, oh yeah, this is stupid. We should kind of.
Well, you know where that came from was my friend Ethan Van Sciver, who's a comic book artist, used to do Green Lantern, and like Jeff Johns, who worked with all those DC movies that came out. Like, and Ethan's amazing. He's an amazing artist. He got run out of the comic business, right, for DC, because like word got around that he voted for Trump. Like that's his crime. So they were like, we're going to get rid of him.
Wow.
And he, I mean, by the way, another guy's good guy. He went off on his own. He does better than he ever did. All the people that work on these things, this is how I think. I'm like, I relate more to Ethan because I always worked for these companies. I wrote for like a joke butler. And then you know, I got all kinds of awards that are worth nothing on my fucking, on a table in my apartment. Like who gives a shit about any of them? What I should have done was just worried about a podcast, you know, like that's what I should have done, but I didn't have the sense to think that way. I even have, I'm like, you know, I didn't want to learn business. I just wanted to be like a jerk. I wanted to be like a Travis Scott level jerk off and you know, just do the fun part. And I didn't care about, I liked writing for other people. Like people I wrote for like everybody who you think is good at it and some who you probably don't think are good at it. Like I literally did. And I should have been doing my own thing. I didn't really have like.
Wait, let's talk about that a minute. So tell me about all your writing stuff, because I know Cal's a big writer, and you are too.
I on a humor show, yeah. Well, the first thing I did was Marin. I wrote for him for his VH1 show. That was my second job was Chappelle, and then then like the roasts I would write for.
Okay.
I mean, I wrote for a lot of like kind of shit, and you know. Or
so how does that roast thing work? They assign you to somebody? Is that what happens?
No, they had a core team of these guys that are like killers. I mean, every one of them's a fucking killer. Fucking Ray James was the head writer. Mike Ferrucci.
Tony's one of them.
Who?
Tony from Kill Tony.
Tony would come. He probably came in with Ross. See, I came when I wrote for the one I wrote for was Sheen, the Charlie Sheen one. I had done warm up the year before, like Jeselnik had done warm up. Then they bring in guys for like a week or something to fit in. Okay, so it's like the week leading up to it. So I wasn't part of like that core team. I was very intimidated by them because they were excellent. And that's the last time I really hung out with Patrice a long time was that roast, because he wouldn't share his jokes with the writers. They
Oh,
what you're going to say. Comedy Central, all they don't like people improving or whatever. They want to put something in prompter. And
wow.
Patrice had like this stuff script, and he was like, "I'm not sharing my shit with your smarmy white writers. He goes, just have Kurt come to my hotel room." So then I got assigned to him because he made a problem for them for the production. They were mad too. Like they put him on last. I think they put him on last to fuck with him for that. Not the writers, but because after I worked with, and the reason he did that, by the way, was I had talked to him on the phone knowing he was coming in, and I said something. I don't remember what I said, but I was like, just don't. I was trying to go how Jeselnik he did warm up, then he wrote for it, then he was on. I wanted to be on it. Okay. Now Patrice would never be on those roasts because he was against them fundamentally. Because he's like, I don't know the person. A roast is supposed to be people who love you. Jeff, because he was very good at roasting, Jeff Ross, he kind of is the one that changed it, where it wasn't like your friends. It was like Comedy Central have a comic that's good at jokes. And then Jeff grew into the guy where he like knows and loves him. But Patrice had a fundamental problem with that whole idea that like you're just gonna, it's because it's just mean if it's not your people who love you. And they would do things like friends of the, like for Sheen, I know he wanted Richard Kind, who I guess was his friend, and they didn't want Richard Kind because he wasn't hot enough. That's ridiculous.
Oh man, that guy is hilarious. He's so funny, man.
And we would have given it. We wrote. Tyson did his jokes great. I remember we all worked with him in the room, and like that guy. Every time I see him, I wonder if you remember me now. I haven't seen him in a while, but for a guy who got punched a lot, he's like, "Hey, Kurt, nice to see you." Like, couldn't believe that he even remembered me from those times. But always cool when I talked to him. But anyway, Patrice. I asked Patrice to I said something like, because I was worried about. They know I'm friends with him, and I don't remember why, because it seems like really bitch-like on my part when I think about it. But I didn't want him alienating them and it fuck my thing up. And I was like, I said something like, don't. I like the writers too. They're good guys. Like I don't have anything against it. But I made a thing of kind of take it easy on them in some way. And he was like, "What? Why do you sound scared?" He was outraged that I sounded nervous, and that's why he made that whole stink for me, which took me years to realize. I had to call Jonathan Branstein, his manager, who was there, because my dumb low self-esteem didn't even understand this at the time. And then we talked for 2 hours. We explained the business to me and why I don't want to, every piece of shit. He's talked about this on other stuff. You can hear on O&A about the dragon's mouth and people lining up to get eaten and shit out. Yeah. And he was like, don't ever be afraid of these people. Like, I don't even want to hear you sound like that again. And then he went on. He had already ideas of his jokes that we polished so that it could go into prompter, but I didn't write them for him. I don't want to make it like that. But then he just went off the cuff at the end and he changed the entire atmosphere of the room when he went on, because it was and the guy sitting next to me, he was a producer who was dating the redhead from Grey's Anatomy. I can't remember her name, but she has a husky voice in car commercials. Oh, yeah. And Patrice went on. He goes, "Wow, this is so different and real." I remember the guy saying that next to me, because it was. They did all the jokes. I got a bunch of jokes on. That was my big concern. Did I get my jokes on? And then he fucking at the end killed, and it was a legendary thing. And William Shatner was friends with him after and all that. And I still remember that. And before that, I had no less than at least 3, I don't even know their positions at Comedy Central, 3 important that I know they're high up. So how's Patrice's set looking? Is it looking where I was is this going to be my fault if it's not okay?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So was Jeselnik writing on that as well then?
He was on it. He was on it that year.
Okay, because I know he was on it, but I mean, my God, his setups are like hand grenades. He does. Here's a hand grenade, and he pulls it, and then he throws it, and it blows up.
He told me how the way he started writing jokes was he bought joke books and then just thought of ways to take the structure and jokes up.
I heard him say that. I heard him say that on a podcast with who was it? With Santino.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and they're good. I like jokes, dude. I like any kind of joke that's well written. I like, people like that. It's just the basic thing that is good.
Yours are more of a flow than everybody has their own kind of thing.
People probably then. I was always trying to be like Attell and Patrice kind of those were my main people that I copying kind of, or take it, but you see these people you look up to and you're oh, I want to be like that. So I was trying to mishmash that. And because I think over a long period of time, like an hour, if you do jokes, it starts to blur together, even if they're good jokes, you know.
Yeah.
But Jessup is great. Like I don't want to say he's bad.
But that's his style. Your style is more of a flow than his is not a flow. His is more of like it's just fucking throwing hand grenades, and yours is more of a you get the nose up, then it comes up here, and it sort of like slides into it. I don't know how.
Yeah,
you'll know what your setup is.
Like he also developed at the same time like a cool when he lays the. There is a thing I like to do where you like lay a line down and then like walk away like you farted, kind of like who did that? Like which he does really well. It's a thing I like of where if I say something like, you know, they might not like where I'm like, I'm as upset as you are. I don't know. Like I try to like just Gavin Newsom myself away from the thing I just said.
Yeah. But I've seen you like 3 times. I've seen you like 3 times. I've been there live 3 times. One I think was in Boston, and I think the other one was Nashville, and one at in LA.
Wait, who's 3 times? Jeselnik?
No, you.
Oh, you saw me in Nashville? No shit.
Yeah.
At Zany's?
Yeah.
Oh, I must not know. I didn't know you back then. But yeah, that was I got to go back there. I love that club.
Dude, yeah, it's great. It really is. It's a great club. But I saw you there, and from the first time I saw you was in Boston. That's a long time ago. And then your thing you could see how they get better. You know how people get better and stuff.
Yeah,
but
right.
But your flow, I don't know how to explain this right, but your flow was more like this, but now it's more like this. And it's a raise up and then boom, right down into it. Well, that was all I was comparing you and the Jeselnik thing. Yours are more like hand grenades, you know, and yours is more of a flow like that.
I'm trying to make it like, well, I am scared. I started Stop 50 Thoughts, but I'm trying to make it where it's like I go on tangents and then I can come back to the original thing. And it looks like I meant to do that. Because I actually do have some kind of disability that I can't like, I don't know, I definitely have ADHD, all that shit. So I think very scattered, and then it's easy for me to just lose track of everything I was talking about. But if I say it right, I can plan it so it comes out like I meant to do that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I gotta go to the show.
Okay, cool.
Dude, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, have a good show, and I'll talk to you in a bit.
All right, wait, plug your show again and your book.
Oh, the Behavior Panel and Understanding Body Language. Don't worry about it. All right, man, have a good show.
All right.
Because I can't get right.